Before you knew who you were, the world began whispering who you should be, not with cruelty, but with quiet repetition, through glances, praise withheld, affection given only when you were easy to love. Bonhoeffer understood that these early impressions don't just shape you, they bind you. You carry beliefs so old you forget they were given to you. The need to be good, to stay quiet, to not take up space. These are the chains that don't rattle. They rest in the body, like breath. But even the gentlest prison is still a prison. And there comes a moment soft and strange when something in you remembers how it felt to be whole, before the world taught you to disappear. In the quiet cradle of our earliest days, where memory has yet to cast its anchor, we embark on a journey shrouded in an innocence untouched by history. This journey begins not in the cacophony of spoken words, but in the subtle art of silence, a language unspoken, yet profoundly influential. Wrapped gently in the whispers of unvoiced expectations, we absorb the world's scripts, casting our first steps into an architecture of the unseen. This silent symphony shapes the fabric of our internal landscape, anchoring itself in the foundations of unarticulated norms, of love, worth and acceptance long before we have the capacity to define such abstractions. Within this uncharted territory, the architects of love silently construct the parameters of our universe. From infancy, we perceive the world not through articulated thoughts, but through the vibrations of our interactions. The warmth of a tender embrace, the sharp withdrawal of affirmation, or the mute space of indifference, all blend into an early education of worthiness. As infants nested in naivety, we inadvertently learn the conditional exchanges of love, a currency dispensed not freely, but with invisible strings attached, crafting the first whispers of a narrative within us. The question looms, are we worthy, loved purely, or do we dance to the rhythms of acceptance tethered to conditions? Here lies the foundation upon which we build our adult selves. The unspoken edicts of silence trace the edges of worth, etching invisible lines in the sand. As children, attuned to the emotional tapestry of our surroundings, we intuitively discern which actions cultivate favour and those that provoke silence's sharp edge. This relentless interpretation lays the bricks of a prison, wherein validation becomes a perpetual pursuit, a cycle of seeking approval that shadows us into adulthood. Bound by these chains, we find ourselves peering out from behind the invisibility of expectations, contemplating the echoes of an unvoiced identity. Who am I? These blueprints, intricate and implicit, continue to weave themselves through the tapestry of our lives, manifesting in patterns both familiar and constricting. Within us stirs the dance of unbidden reflexes, set into motion long before we acknowledge the presence of choice. Thus we find ourselves ensnared within habitual flights from a conflict, eager passivity, or a resistance to transformation, all resonances of conditioning's silent refrain. Yet as we seek to illuminate these hidden corners of the self, we unveil the simplicity of their orchestration, understanding their purpose, but yearning for release. The silent agreements we unknowingly forge with the world begin even before we comprehend the essence of negotiation. These are hidden compacts, sealed not with pen and ink, but with the gentle touches of warmth or chill, affirmation or isolation. They resonate internally, sculpting a worldview and an identity not of our own invention. Such are the scripts we inherit, roles unwritten, yet binding our performances in life's silent play. By delving into these unwitnessed conversations, we unearth the foundations of conditioning, laying bare the potential for new compacts rooted in growth and self-awareness. In this architecture of identity, the structure rises upon these silent contracts and unseen boundaries. Society's expectations and unseen traditions seep into the crevices of our forming selves, shaping the contours of identity through cues subtle and profound. These precursors crafting our relationships, our understanding of family, culture, and our place in the vast expanse of humanity. It is an unknown artist, unseen yet influential, sketching the first lines of the self, a creation invisible yet palpable. Understanding these initial strokes is crucial for any soul seeking freedom, as they continuously redefine the possibilities of self-expression. Our emotional roots delve deep into the rich soils of these pre-verbal interactions, seeking nourishment or finding neglect. In those early moments, before words grant the power of articulation, emotions are felt through visceral experiences. Conflict, anxiety, and even love impart their lessons through unspoken cues and responses. Such formative emotional encounters anchor our emotional intelligence, shaping our responses to life's challenges. Engaging with these roots offers us the chance to understand and cultivate new forms of emotional health, enriching our capacity for genuine expressions of self. The heart's condition is crafted in these tender, vulnerable times, embedding reflexes into our engagement with both the world and our innermost self. As creatures of conditioned habit and survival tactics, once critical, these patterns map our youthful landscapes, yet may linger into realms of obsolescence. As adults, acknowledging and understanding these reflexes is akin to receiving an invitation for transformative growth, responding with conscious choice rather than reaction's impulse. In this tender exploration, as we brush against the prison walls woven before memory, we come to face a transformative journey. It is not a revolution, but an introspective return to authenticity, a return to a self unanchored by the narratives of yesteryears. By identifying these conditionings, we open vistas to new stories, personal scripts forged in the radiant light of self-understanding. This journey demands patience, a slow and compassionate unravelling of our innate complexities. It is through this shedding that authentic transformation and personal empowerment emerge. Confronting this prison, we find more than self-discovery. We encounter the architecture of growth, a place where authenticity flourishes over conformity. As structures once rigid become malleable, we hold the tools of liberty, architects of our personal destiny, empowered to redraw the narratives of our existence. It is here within the sacred architecture of our being that we find the fluid, renewing nature of human growth, a legacy built upon the foundations of transformation. In the quiet tapestry of family life, some children discover early on that silence is the path of least resistance. A quiet child is not necessarily born from inherent shyness, but rather as a guardian of peace in subtle domestic battlegrounds. Here in silence, they become watchful sentinels, absorbing unspoken tensions and unwritten rules. They retreat into the realm of their own thoughts, carving out a hidden sanctuary untouched by the chaotic dance outside. This silence, once a protective veil, evolves into a comforting isolation that clings like a shadow into adulthood. As time unfolds, those silent children might find that expressing their innermost thoughts feels like tearing down walls built to shelter them. Their voices, hidden under layers of caution, struggle for air, yearning for authentic connections but trapped in a cocoon of their own making. To the world, their still waters may seem like detachment, but deep within lies a quiet storm of complexity. The journey back to reclaim their voice is an odyssey of courage, a delicate unravelling of patterns, woven through years of adaptive silence. In this rediscovery, they learn that their presence matters, and that being heard is both a right and a sacred duty. Within those same walls, another child dons the mask of the performer, a master of disguise whose skills are sharpened by the alchemy of approval and applause. From tender years they learn that love and acceptance often ride on the crest of achievement, a dance in which their every move seeks to capture the warmth of others' praise. The performer wears many masks, each crafted for different audiences, each demanding an intricate performance. This becomes an unconscious ritual, casting lifelong roles where external validation becomes a well-worn compass. Yet, adulthood finds these performers chasing shadows, filling an internal void that accolades cannot touch. They adorn themselves with accolades and praise, but the shine only highlights their insecurity, leading to exhaustion on the pathway of perpetual achievement. To escape the stage, they must confront a deeper truth. Their intrinsic value is not tethered to how well they entertain or excel. Embracing vulnerability allows them to step away, ushering in a life defined by genuine existence rather than echoed applause. Elsewhere, a child shoulders the mantle of caretaker. Nurturing becomes their solemn creed. Cast as the peacemakers or steadfast ones, their worth intertwines with the happiness and well-being of others. Maturity blooms early, guided by the belief that love and care are tokens exchanged for harmony. This self-sacrificial dance, honed through obligation, solidifies pathways toward future relationships, echoing patterns of responsibility learned early. In the later chapters of life, caretakers often find themselves enmeshed in relationships tilted toward codependency, devoted to the needs of others, while sidelining their own well-being. Hailed as selfless heroes, internally they carry the weight of fatigue. Their journey is the delicate art of defining boundaries, learning that genuine love and connection flourish not through self-neglect, but by honouring mutual respect and autonomy. As they renegotiate this balance, their strength is revealed not in control, but in the freedom to prioritise their well-being. In more tumultuous arenas, children grow into protectors, marked by vigilance and defence. Emotionally armoured, they become self-reliant bastions, safeguarding themselves and siblings against harm. Trained, that strength is a bulwark against vulnerability. They stand proud as unyielding sentinels. Yet, beneath their stoic facade lies a well of fear. Fear not of strength, but of intimate encounters with vulnerability. Adulthood for protectors is a landscape fraught with challenges in trust and emotional intimacy. Their fortress becomes both haven and prison, safeguarding against pain yet limiting genuine connection. To transcend their own walls, protectors must rediscover courage, the bravery to be fully seen. Embracing vulnerability reveals a strength far beyond solitude, where the courage to remain open ushers in profound relationships. In the sanctuary of intellect, the academic finds refuge, their mind ablaze with knowledge. Pursuing excellence becomes a pathway not only to safety, but identity. Embedded in environments that prize intellectual prowess, these children thrive amongst data, facts and logic, delighting in the predictable sanctuary of the mind. Yet in their cerebral world, emotional realms often remain untouched, alien in its fluidity and unpredictability. As adults, academics often excel in intellectual domains, yet struggle to traverse the unfathomable depths of vulnerability and emotion. Their inner rationality erects barriers against intimacy, unintentionally isolating them from their own desires. The journey toward wholeness lies in harmonizing intellect with emotion, venturing beyond facts into the rich terrain of empathy, a beautiful dance where understanding gleams brighter within the tapestry of human experience. And thus, in a world filled with myriad facades, each child navigates their own path, learning adaptation as necessary for survival. Integration unmarries these roles, inviting a union where blended experiences shape an authentic existence. By shedding their constructs, they honour the vibrant spectrum of their humanity. With each unveiling, they awaken to lives defined by authenticity and resilience, standing unguarded and fully alive. In the quiet sanctuary of early childhood, parents' gazes become the brushes and chisels sculpting the soul's early form. Each glance, whether warm with approval or shadowed with disappointment, leaves a hidden mark, moulding a child's essence in ways that unfold quietly and persistently. This silent communication imprints on tender minds, mapping pathways that define self-worth, acceptance, and the yearning for approval. In the tender silence of these exchanges, children learn to adapt. Their behaviours carved by the nuanced expectations gleaming in a parent's eyes. These early impressions don't merely drift away with time, they extend into adulthood, lingering like a soft fragrance carried by the wind. The quest for approval, the cautious sidestep to avoid disapproval, becomes a subtle rhythm that guides life's dance. Even in the absence of those early figures, the pathways etched by their gaze remain ever present, gently steering choices in friendships, careers, and relationships. It's a quiet choreography of inherited approval seeking, enduring beyond memories, urging individuals to gently untangle themselves and seek their true selves while honouring the past. As the child grows and steps into the wider world, the parent's eyes blend with society's collective gaze, an unseen audience whispering expectations. These societal eyes watch, subtle yet insistent, guiding towards conformity or sparking rebellion. Social settings echo with the same unspoken rules, amplifying early teachings. Navigating this symphony of expectations requires delicate awareness to discern between authentic actions and those driven by inherited demands. By tuning into this intricate orchestra, one can begin composing an original melody in life, a song of authenticity and self-guided truth. In many ways, the approval or rejection felt through a parent's eyes becomes akin to sacred tablets, etched with guiding principles about success, morality, and self-worth. These silent scripts evolve over time, shaping how one perceives right and wrong, success and failure. The weight of disapproval, or the gentle lift of approval, becomes a foundation for stories of self-worth, echoing through personal narratives. For many, these foundational scripts remain unrecognised yet potent, dictating choices and silently drawing boundaries long into adulthood. Conditional love, too, cast through whispered implications of expectation, unfolds softly with messages that love must be earned. This guidance forms deep-rooted beliefs, creating scaffolding upon which the search for self-worth and external validation precariously rests. The quiet insistence that love hinges on achievement weaves itself into the fabric of self-perception, nudging individuals towards the relentless pursuit of external accolades. Yet empowerment blooms through awareness, truly knowing that love, unencumbered by conditions, is innate and expansive. Projection, the mesmerizing play of shadow and reflection serves as another compelling force shaping identity. Children often first encounter projection in the mirror held by their parents, reflecting strengths while also revealing unresolved traits hidden within the parent's shadow. These childhood encounters with projection carve self-images that persist, casting shadows into adulthood. Liberation from these projections involves unmasking the reflection to uncover the true self beneath, reclaiming traits and nurturing a genuine sense of identity. Generational surveillance quietly watches, a tapestry woven of traditions and unspoken rules, sustaining the family lineage's continuity. Each family maintains its system of expectations, binding children to its framework of behaviour, ensuring belonging and success. Yet, untangling this intricate surveillance reveals pathways toward personal growth free from inherited constraints. By distinguishing healthy guidance from stifling expectations, one forges a path of authenticity within the rich context of familial narratives. Children bound by familiar chains of behaviour grow comfortable in their predictability, even when those chains constrain personal evolution. The chains formed by glances and discouraging words foster a sense of security, subtly hindering the quest for self-authenticity. Unravelling these chains requires courage to confront the origin of these silent forces, transforming past stifling patterns into gifts of empowerment and choice. The inner critic emerges, a forceful voice shaped by those early authoritative gazes, echoing judgments with familiar tones. What feels like a personal demon is often a collage of external assessments, internalised over the years. Recognising this critic's origins opens a dialogue of compassion, reframing self-talk with empathy. This journey of understanding transforms criticism into resilience, embracing one's genuine worth with gentle affirmation. Liberation from imposed narratives, the stories we inherit about who we should be, demands a conscious unveiling. Recognising these narratives' subtle power, individuals pause, reflect, and choose actions aligned with genuine aspirations rather than inherited expectations. By reshaping these stories, one carves new paths of potential, a dialogue of self-discovery and transformation that breaks binds and embraces chosen journeys. Reclaiming one's personal narrative is an invitation to step into the gentle power of self-rediscovery, gathering scattered pieces of identity to create a new, authentic whole. It is not a rebellion, but a transformation of past limitations into conscious choices, an exploration of one's true essence guided by self-discovered values and dreams. This reclamation nurtures a life imbued with meaning, crafting new legacies that guide future generations, free from the scripts initially set by the gaze of authority. In the gentle tapestry of life's early dawn, the seeds of obedience are tenderly sown. In the cocoon of family, where compliance often aligns with goodness, a child learns that their worth is tethered to the threads of rule following. Authority figures, parents, guides, sages of the young mind, become the architects of belief, moulding the child's world with whispers of approval and the hush of expectation, weaving a fabric of love and acceptance for those who bow to the given path. The young, ever seeking the light of affirmation, cling to this lesson, that obedience brings warmth, safety, a semblance of belonging within the tender confines of their limited world. Thus, the heart learns to navigate its voyage, cocooned in the script of conformity, a lure both gentle and binding as it trails into adulthood. These earliest lessons are profound, crafting the soul's shadow as maturity beckons. The quiet longing to remain unseen but not unnoticed propels one to clutch at external validations, a habit ingrained so deeply that the echoes of childhood sweetly haunt the spirit's unfolding chapters. Adherence is confused with admiration, the tender bud of personal sovereignty stunted by memories of praise and punishment, till compliance comes like a gentle sigh of relief. With silent confusion one dances the steps passed down, the heritage of a soul restrained, weaving paths carefully from inherited scripts beneath an invisible sky. As the child grows, authority stands as a looming giant, casting shadows large and formidable. The power of these figures, venerable and undeniable, dictates joy and fear alike, carving edges into the timid landscape of young hearts, expanding obedience into a quiet reverence that remains unchallenged. In the twilight of adulthood, this reverence crystallizes, an alabaster mask of compliance that quells the spark of curiosity. Dreams of exploring new terrains wane, and discretion whispers in fearful cadence, tethering the spirit to known paths where bravery dares not tread. There lies an unstated fear, a hesitant quivering at the edge of uncertainty, perpetually curbing the instinct to wander beyond the circle, to colour outside the given lines. In the silence of this perpetual deference, intuition falters, its voice hushed beneath the demands of learned obedience. The delicate echoes of one's soul, once vibrant, find their eloquence quietly stifled, burdened by the desires of those once considered kindly shepherds. The heart aches, a muted longing for authenticity, gnawing beneath the roles it must play, the silent game of compliance demanding a performance that betrays true desires. In quiet surrender, the spirit finds itself bound by invisible chains, stifled beneath layers of expectations laid in earlier times, yearning for a dawn of recognition that has grown dim. Across the vast terrain of adulthood, this passivity spreads, like a quiet fog upon still waters. It pervades life, seeping into the cracks of personal and professional spaces, sowing reluctance where boldness yearns to sprout. Stifled by whispered fear of authority's watchful eye, potential shrinks, withheld brilliance resting hidden beneath fear's quiet shroud. The world, thus framed, remains untouched by transformative ideas, the soil of well-worn patterns barren ground. Collective growth halters where courage to dissent wanes. A society bound not by collaboration, but by the silent nod of agreement. A world drawn thin under the weight of compliance's gentle yoke. Obedience, when disguised as faith's companion, twists the soul, a vine that wraps around the seeking spirit, promising solace while curbing the wanderings of inner discovery. The echoes of inherited spiritual creed lull one into silent compulsion, the comforting rhythm of repetition concealing a trepidation of divergence. Beneath this surface, a familiar fear dwells, whispering warnings of isolation should the seeker stray too far from time-honoured paths. To reconstruct the architecture of obedience, the soul must undertake a tender journey of reclamation, where the heart relinquishes inherited fear and claims its own sacred counsel. This path is adorned with soft courage, an elicitation of intrinsic authority that honours personal truth above all else. Here, the shadows of obedience lighten, brushed aside by the internal lamp of self-awareness, each step untangling from childhood's lingering grasp. In the heart's quiet realm, disagreements become expressions of selfhood, each voice raised against the chorus of acquiescence, a hymn to authenticity. The journey is not rebellion for rebellion's sake, but a tender undertaking of allegiance, loyalty to the divine whispers found in one's core. This sacred dance against inherited chains gives way to personal authority, an inward blossoming as radiant as dawn's first light. Within this unfolding realization, awareness blooms, each petal unfurling into compassionate understanding, a garden where curiosity thrives unshackled by judgment, where the heart encourages exploration of the self's infinite mystery. In setting these boundaries, personal sovereignty shimmers, embracing change as a friend, unlocking life's boundless landscape. There, within the heart's quiet revolution, lies the power to weave a narrative of liberation, where the soul dances unbridled, free at last in the gentle embrace of its own story. In the quiet corners of our earliest homes, where unspoken rules governed our hearts, children often learn to keep their emotions hidden away, like secrets buried beneath the floorboards. Here, silence wasn't just an absence of sound, it was a garden where fear and misunderstanding planted seeds. And in this muted sanctuary, the ties between our inner selves and our emotions began to fray. Imagine a child, small and vulnerable, touching the world and finding that expressions of anger, sadness, or even joy are met not with understanding, but with dismissal or rebuke. The message is unmistakable. These emotions are unwelcome guests. This lesson becomes a map that charts every step in an adult life, each turn marked by caution and a wary heart. Suppression is not passive, it is an intricate dance of denial that etches invisible lines upon the soul, splitting the body's natural instincts from the conditioned mind's responses. In this silent choreography, emotions surge forth like whispers in the night, a quiet defiance against an unwritten law. As the years mould a child into an adult, this disconnect becomes a fog through which they stumble, unable to grasp their own feelings, forever bound to a chaotic ocean where clarity should reside. This burden seeps into every relationship, unseen yet profoundly felt, like a shadow that stretches over life's journey. Consider the dichotomy of inner conflict, where a child's voice, yearning to be heard, collides with the adult's steadfast resolve to preserve the fragile order imposed by years of conditioning. This eternal clash echoes ancient philosophies, the tensions of mind versus body, nature versus nurture. Energy that might spark creativity is instead spent maintaining the calm facade of composure and control. This internal war drains the soul, leaving scant space for true growth or discovery. Consequently, the physical and mental landscapes are often scarred. Chronic stress and anxiety are the storms stirred by the tension between suppressed emotions and an unyielding world. Trapped between these crosswinds, an individual may find themselves navigating a life marked by resentment, a compass set to confusion. Over time, these emotions, unexpressed and unattended, bind into knots of depression, anxiety, and psychosomatic malaise, deepening the rift between imagination and emotional truth. As we journey further, the role of culture all too often tightens the silence around emotion, with societal norms painting emotions as frail or undesirable. Cultures multiply the familial message, casting emotion as a flaw rather than the vivid spectrum of human experience. Thus, both children and adults don polished exteriors, presenting a stoic visage to the world, even as a wellspring of emotion hides below. But to reclaim one's emotional truth requires confronting these cultural narratives. It beckons us to challenge societal norms and step into the bravery of vulnerability. By doing so, we begin the process of dismantling these facades, recognizing that in vulnerability lies strength, not weakness, revelation, not shame. Emotional suppression builds walls between the mind's desire to control and the body's instinctual wisdom. When caught in its web, we lose touch with the raw, unfiltered ways our bodies register emotion. Healing the split between mind and body involves practices that encourage presence and connection. Through mindfulness and embodiment, we coax these hidden emotions into the light, acknowledging them not as trespassers, but as vital parts of our inner story. Reclaiming emotional agency requires viewing emotions not as tangled threads to be quietly managed, but as parts of a narrative we can steer. It's the realization that past conditioning should not dictate present reality. By delving into these past lessons and re-evaluating their relevance, we begin to build a new narrative, one where our emotions, in all their intricacy, are valued guides along the winding path of personal truth. Emotional integration is akin to an alchemical process, a transformation of leaden pain into golden insight. Here, suppressed emotions are not banished, but welcomed as teachers, shedding light on corners of our psyches long hidden. Through patient reflection and conscious acknowledgement, we invite a shift from relentless suppression to understanding, allowing feelings to heal old wounds rather than deepening them. Patience, as both catalyst and balm, gently turns past hurts into present power, empowering one to meet the world with thoughtfulness and authenticity. Embracing vulnerability becomes a doorway to emotional wholeness, inviting suppressed emotions into the open air of understanding. By daring to be vulnerable, we tear down the walls erected by childhood suppression, becoming architects of our emotional reality. Vulnerability draws us closer to ourselves and others, creating a sacred space for acceptance and empathy. The path to emotional liberation unfolds through rituals of introspection, such as journaling and mindful meditation. These practices offer refuge, a sanctuary where emotions can be safely transformed into words, woven into healing narratives. Through these reflective acts, we anchor ourselves, finding clarity amidst emotional tempests and letting them pass without undue tethering. Non-attachment reveals another pathway to liberation, teaching the art of witnessing emotions without being subsumed by them. This detachment allows for the flow of emotions, like weather passing through open skies, without dictating identity. Embracing non-attachment is not denying emotions, but witnessing them as transient phenomena, nourishing a serene acceptance that gently untangles the threads of past suppression. As we draw near the end of this contemplative journey, consider this: emotional freedom is not the absence of past conditioning, but the ability to transform those invisible chains into instruments of enlightenment. In honour of this journey, we find solace in embracing compassion for ourselves, acknowledging each step as sacred on the path to emotional wholeness. In the serene, uncharted realm of childhood, seeds of adaptation plant themselves quietly amidst chaos. Each experience, a brushstroke on the evolving canvas of the young mind, helps shape these survival mechanisms, like people-pleasing, perfectionism, and withdrawal, as an unconscious defense against unpredictable storms of criticism and fleeting affections. These are not chosen paths, but instinctive navigations through the labyrinthine landscape of early life. Such strategies, much like ancient armour, weather the tumultuous whimsy of childhood, ensuring an emotional shelter amidst swirling uncertainties. These coping mechanisms gradually harden beneath the veneer of one's character, masquerading as innate personality traits. In time, the people-pleaser emerges out of a silent contract with approval and the fear of conflict, whispering yes when the heart cries no. It is a bittersweet dance for validation, trading authenticity for the illusion of safety within others' expectations. Yet, beneath these unyielding smiles, identity erodes slowly, burnt offerings on the altar of acceptance. Despite securing a fleeting sense of belonging, this path steeps the heart in a quiet solitude, as the constant external validation ultimately fails to sate the deeper hunger for self-acceptance, leaving in its wake a quiet frustration. As the well-tuned mechanism of perfectionism whirs into life, it presents an illusion of control, an iron fortress shielding tender places from critique. Excellence becomes the golden calf, worshipped in the sacred quest to secure love through achievement. Within this relentless pursuit, however, lies a paradox of empowerment and paralysis. The ceaseless striving sows seeds of anxiety and stress, birthing a cycle of self-criticism that crushes genuine joy under its weight. Such endeavours become Sisyphean tasks, burning bright yet cold, striving towards an unattainable summit where fragility is occasionally concealed by perceived strength. In the shadows, withdrawal offers its own refuge, a haven to retreat when the cacophony of existence grows overwhelming. For the child whose emotional expressions met with indifference or reprimand, this strategy becomes a rational sanctuary, an inward journey to escape external turbulence. Yet in adulthood, this solace often shapes a silent world, absent of vibrant exchanges that deepen intimacy, echoing instead with loneliness, as the desire for true connection struggles against the habit of solitude. In the heart of these early survival strategies, a narrative of conditional self-worth takes root. It is these dynamic strategies that lead the dance of identity, steering each step to meet expectations crafted by the external world. Masks replace the true self, offering promises at the cost of diminishing authenticity and nurturing a facade constructed upon perceived adequacy. In such vigilance, life unfolds on the precipice, self-worth teetering above a chasm of perceived failure, crafting fragile identities dependent on external affirmation. As peace descends, the illusion of safety these tactics provide unravels, casting light upon their roles as both protectors and prisoners. The structures once paramount in youth outlive their usefulness and metamorphose into barriers, restricting the pursuit of genuine self-discovery. These protective veils, though once vital, ultimately reveal themselves as prisons, a stark revelation as the shadows lift, unveiling paths foregone in favour of conditional existence. Yet from this realisation dawns the journey toward reclaiming an authentic self, a path paved with vulnerability and acceptance, each step moving closer to the core that was buried so long ago. This journey embraces shadows long denied, allowing each layer to peel back gently, unveiling a soul worthy of love and self-respect. It transforms past adaptations into wisdom, integrating them into the depths of one's being, an experience forged not just in shadow but also light. The recognition that vulnerability itself is strength beckons us to engage life's complexities, freed from the constraints of old survival tactics. The alchemy of integration weaves conscious awareness with subconscious patterns into new narratives. These threads, once used to shield, now strengthen a self that can dance freely in a world that defies micromanagement. Here lies the embrace of life's complexity, a balance found not in obliteration but synthesis, a harmony allowing grace to navigate uncertainty. This passage to wholeness invites the power of vulnerability, where real connections germinate amidst imperfection, sustaining genuine bonds that nurture mutual growth. The artifice of pretense falls away, revealing raw beauty as this authentic self stands unguarded and present. Vulnerability and connection fill the void of isolation, offering a transformative power that enriches both individual and collective growth. Thus, the echoes of early survival strategies no longer seek to define, they lead toward a new dawn, a journey where wholeness transcends conditioned behaviour. This path acknowledges the past's influence, transforming constraints into potential, the burdensome chains recast into the delicate threads of a new self. Such wholeness does not resolve in an endpoint, but becomes a sacred dance, a fluid synergy where past, present, and future converge, allowing every aspect of the self to flourish. Rooted in strength and vulnerability, the odyssey of becoming is knowledge, marking not a finale but a sacred journey, an eternal narrative of self-renewal and authenticity. In the stillness of our earliest days, before we speak, before we even know ourselves, shame quietly slips into our lives. It originates in the tender relationship between a child and their world, a world where parents, teachers, and society subtly plant the seeds. Unlike guilt, which ties itself to discrete actions, shame binds to the very essence of our being, leaving a lasting imprint on our identity. Imagine a parent's critical gaze, or the stifling hush of a caregiver's unapproving hand. Each silent gesture becomes a whispered conviction in our young minds, a declaration of deficiency, a haunting mantra of "I am not enough." These early impressions of shame write themselves in invisible ink upon the story of our lives, like ghosts that linger in the dark corridors of the soul. This silent experience of shame often begins innocuously, a stern rebuke for a misstep, a sidelong look of disapproval when an emotion isn't deemed right. The child absorbs these cues not as critiques of behaviour, but as indictments of self-worth. To protect against rejection, the vibrant self is hidden away, shrinking to fit the moulds cast by external expectations. Over time, this adaptation hardens into a self-imposed confinement, with shame standing watch at every door. Beyond the intimacy of the family, shame weaves itself into the fabric of societal institutions. Schools, churches, and communities methodically instill notions of rightness and wrongness, stretching beyond actions to touch the deepest parts of personal identity. Bonhoeffer recognised this institutional use of shame, a tool to maintain order, urging conformity through the quiet threat of exclusion. The education system, with its regimented standards, whispers, "You are only worthy if you achieve," tying personal value to performance instead of inherent worth. Religious and cultural structures perpetuate the weight of shame, wielding it as a means to enforce norms and silence deviations. In communities, belonging's often negotiated through conformity, forcing a painful chasm between one's authentic self and the self that fits in. Echoes of mystics and trailblazers who dared step beyond these boundaries remind us of the punitive power of shame to deter authenticity. Freeing oneself from these confining structures demands bravery, a tender act of reclaiming the soul's truth amidst a landscape that encourages retreat. Shame infiltrates our mental landscape with quiet stealth, manifesting as self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and persistent feelings of inadequacy. In adulthood, these habits of shame whisper behind ambition, sowing seeds of fear even in the fertile ground of opportunity. Perfectionism becomes not a striving for excellence, but a frantic shield against exposure. This relentless pursuit of flawlessness is rooted in terror, not aspiration, as though one wrong step could dissolve the fragile illusion of worth. Relationships under shame scrutiny shift from sanctuaries of connection to battlegrounds for validation, where openness becomes a risky invitation to pain. The sabotage induced by shame, though subtle, is deeply embedded, influencing choices and actions often without our awareness. Just as a flower struggled to bloom in barren ground, creativity withers beneath shame's oppressive weight. As life presents paths aligned with personal passions, shame emerges to suffocate ambition with doubt. Whispers of, "Who are you to dream?" echoing through the mind. In deferring dreams, we not only bypass potential, but overlook parts of ourselves yearning for expression. The nature of shame is such that it travels across generations, an unspoken inheritance passed down through family lines. Like an heirloom, it finds its place in narratives and behaviours, crippling authenticity and dimming the light between the true self and the world outside. Breaking free of this cycle transcends an act of defiance. It becomes a compassionate unravelling of history within safe spaces of empathy and support, where healing begins in the gentle witnessing of another. To reconcile with shame is to see it as part of our emotional tapestry, acknowledging its presence without letting it dictate our life story. Radical acceptance emerges as the first step, embracing one's worth in the absence of past errors or successes. Through practices like journaling and mindfulness, we tenderly peel back the layers of shame, questioning its hold and releasing its grasp. As we embark on this transformative journey, shame loosens its grip, making room for self-worth to grow firm and unconditioned. The healing unfolds, echoing a timeless art, like discovering an ancient masterpiece hidden beneath dust. Creativity, radiant and unburdened, becomes the voice of liberation, painting the canvas of life with resilience and rebirth. In this sacred act of creation, the shackled spirit rediscovers its song, crafting narratives not confined by past constraints, but expanded by future possibilities. In the end, embracing imperfection as part of our human journey reclaims the narrative from shame's shadow. By viewing mistakes as paths to growth, they no longer represent failures, but chances to deepen understanding. This shift invites a collective healing, where shared vulnerabilities replace judgment, fashioning a community united in courage, rather than divided by pretense. Here in the flawed beauty of our true selves, connection thrives and a new legacy begins, rooted not in shame but in boundless possibility. In stepping beyond the confines of shame, we awaken to a vibrant self, always worthy, always enough, boldly illuminated in the light of self-acceptance and genuine, unwavering presence. In the quiet corners of our hearts lies a child, wounded and wise, harbouring the echoes of our earliest emotions and experiences. This inner child holds the memories of unmet needs and forgotten whims, silently steering the undercurrents of our adult selves. The journey begins with acknowledging this child, a delicate recognition that marks the start of a sacred pilgrimage toward healing and growth. In the gentle embrace of understanding, we offer solace to the aching spots of our past, sowing seeds of transformation through tender care and recognition of our innate worthiness. These unmet needs, often hidden in the shadows, weave intricate tapestries into the fabric of our beings. In the softest whispers, they manifest as patterns and reactions, sparked by triggers that bind us to the narratives of scarcity and longing. Approval, love, security, they all become mirrored in our actions, driving us to seek validation in the most elusive corners. It is here in the brave act of witnessing that awareness begins its gentle work. With compassionate eyes, we peer into the nooks where discomfort lingers, tracing the roots back to times when our needs were lost in the chaos of unawareness. Underneath the vast canopy of emotional safety lies an inviting space, a sanctuary where our inner child may roam free from judgment. It is a place crafted from daily rituals, woven with affirmations that softly affirm our right to exist, to feel, and to flourish without restraint. Boundaries begin to bloom, not as walls, but as gentle reminders of self-worth, preserving the sanctity of our emotional experience. In solitude, we find our grounding, tuning into the whispers of our own truths. The quiet acts of reflection and stillness create a fertile ground where authenticity rises unencumbered. Vulnerability, a sacred art, becomes the channel through which transformation flows. As courage stands hand in hand with vulnerability, we find strength in embracing our own softness. In the poetry of sadness and fear lies the essence of our truest selves, inviting a dialogue that honours the inner child within. This tenderness unveils deep-seated beliefs, laying them bare under the light of healing acceptance. In this space, transformation becomes tangible, an ethereal dance where self-compassion and personal authenticity entwine, altering our course with the warmth of gentle grace. As we build trust in ourselves, a partnership emerges, a vow to honour our inner child's whispers with unwavering presence. This relationship blossoms into a commitment that ensures promises are more than mere words, fortified by action and truth. In the echo of every decision lies a testament to this bond, nurturing self-assuredness and resilience. With each choice, the weight of past doubts is lifted, replaced by the quiet authority of lived experience. We find peace in saying no to what burdens us, and yes to honouring the rhythm of our own needs, returning us home to our centre. Affirmations, potent and earnest, become the melody for our inner dialogue, guiding us from shadows to light. In each deliberate statement, we rewrite narratives, dismantling the scaffolding of doubt to reveal foundational strengths. They are whispers of kindness, the embodiment of love that gently quiets criticism and fear. This transformation unfolds in the subtle shift of perspective, nurturing self-belief and reaffirming our inherent value, as profound as the simple declaration, "I am enough." Slowly the narratives of insufficiency dissolve, revealing the boundless garden of self-worth that always thrived beneath. Visualization becomes a tender guide, allowing us to dream new realities into being. In the lulled clarity of our imagination, we craft landscapes where desires are met, where the nurturing environment our inner child longed for is vividly brought to life. These visions bypass the restraints of logical confines, inviting comfort and empowerment to replace past scars with warmth and acceptance. They are poetic flights of the soul, crafting solace from memory, reimagining the whispers of yesteryears into vibrant narratives of healing. Rituals, sacred and intimate, offer rhythm to our nurturing dance, infusing each day with moments of intentional care. Morning dawns with affirmations, breathing life into each breath, while journaling invites reflection under the evening sky. These rituals embody a promise kept, anchoring us in constancy while chaos recedes. Through ritual, a dialogue unfolds with the self, transforming nurturing from aspiration into daily reality, inviting beauty into every experience, grounding us in stability and offering the inner child a haven. Within the embrace of non-judgment, we find freedom. We welcome our emotions as sacred travellers, worthy of being seen and understood without the burden of labels. In the realm of non-judgment lies acceptance, a rich soil where the seeds of understanding and compassion take root. Here emotions aren't categorized as right or wrong. They simply are, deserving of our gentle acknowledgement. This practice reshapes our emotional landscape, nurturing authenticity and fostering a space where curiosity and compassion reign, intertwining with the vibrant tapestry of our inner child's expression. As we journey towards wholeness, we embrace each step as both a farewell to old bindings and a joyous introduction to renewed possibility. Wholeness, the gentle companion to our path, invites us to weave together the myriad parts of our being, the joys, scars, insights and questions, into a tapestry of acceptance and love. Each encounter with our inner child becomes a tender unveiling of resilience, where the guardian within hugs closed dreams and whispers once lost, now tenderly found and cherished through every breath of nurturing awareness. In the gentle dance of transformation, naming the invisible chains of our early conditioning becomes a sacred act of witnessing. These chains, woven subtly into the fabric of our being, often remain shrouded in shadows until we choose to cast a deliberate light upon them. The impressions of childhood linger like soft echoes, creating a tapestry of scripts guiding us silently and unconsciously through life. They whisper in our ears as fears, as the need to please, as discomfort with change, binding us in patterns we seldom question until we dare to pause and observe. These patterns, crafted through time's repetitive weave, reveal their essence when we turn inward. Their grip loosens when we see them for what they are, spectres from a past unwitnessed. By acknowledging the genesis of these chains, we begin to decode the labyrinth of our present behaviours and beliefs, discovering a map that leads toward liberation. Naming them is not merely about attaching a word, but about an intimate act of awareness and discovery, propelling us gently toward deliberate change. Suspended in time, our past threads itself intricately into the present. This thread ties early interactions and understandings to the choices and beliefs that define our adult lives. The impressionable child, absorbing every unspoken rule, every whispered belief, stitches them into the very core of their being. These elements, planted in the fertile ground of childhood, grow into patterns that extend their reach into adulthood, gently shaping our decisions, relationships and self-concept. Yet tracing these roots is not about blame, but about understanding the foundation of our psychological landscape. By identifying these influences, we learn how they continue to script our stories. This is an act of bravery, often uncovering truths wrapped in complex emotions. As we face them, we open pathways to rewrite our narratives, turning the shadows of the past into the light of understanding. Every reaction we exhibit today resonates with echoes from our formative years. Developed as survival mechanisms, these automatic responses emerge unexpectedly, lingering as reminders of conditioning from long ago. By examining these echoes, we start to see how much of what we consider choice is a lingering reaction from our childhood scripts. Understanding this connection unveils the persistent nature of those scripts, allowing us to claim our responses as conscious rather than automatic. This shift from unconscious reaction to conscious choice transforms our interactions and propels us beyond past imprinting. The path to awareness is not immediate, but unfolds with patience and contemplative practice, a gentle liberation from our chains. Bringing names to the surface of consciousness is a liberating first step, Through this act, we begin to transform our conditioned responses by rendering the unseen visible. Naming turns vague feelings into tangible realities, offering us the power to observe and understand ourselves with clarity. By knowing what binds us, we can dismantle these constraints with intention and care. This process requires deep exploration of our belief systems, rooted biases, and behaviours, tracing them towards their origins. Each revelation creates space between reflex and true self, allowing us to respond from a place of awareness, reclaiming sovereign choice. Our shadow, though unseen, casts its subtle influence across our lives. It guides our choices and reactions without our conscious consent. Shadow work, as envisioned by Jung, invites us to bring these hidden aspects into the light of consciousness. By acknowledging the darker components of ourselves, we embark on a journey toward integration. This confrontation, fueled by honesty and patience, unveils untapped potential and genuine power. Aspects named anger, fear, jealousy signal their presence, diminishing their covert control. Gradually we stitch together the fractures within, intertwining shadow with light, unravelling chains, revealing the path to true selfhood. Moving beyond acknowledgement towards acceptance heralds deep transformation. Accepting our chains recognises that, while influential, they do not define our entirety. True acceptance nurtures empathy towards oneself, offering space where healing and transformation take root. This introspective journey transitions struggle into peace and resistance into understanding, framing these chains as parts of our story for introspection rather than adversaries. Acceptance invites profound personal growth, awakening inner peace and spontaneity as we become resilient navigators of our lived experience. Embracing self-compassion gently unfurls the tight knots of self-awareness, guiding us through the process of naming and breaking down our chains. Often rooted in self-criticism, the scripts we follow persist beneath the cloak of unworthiness. As we expose and dismantle these chains, self-compassion becomes a balm that soothes the rugged pathways of self-discovery. It replaces judgment with kindness, fostering a nurturing environment where healing feels both safe and supported. By nurturing self-compassion, we honour our journey, viewing ourselves as evolving students of existence, infusing our path with understanding, unravelling barriers along the way. In this introspective journey, journaling and reflection become indispensable tools. These practices invite us to map the rich tapestry of our inner worlds. Through writing, we unravel the threads of our conditioning, casting light on subconscious patterns. Reflection processes these insights into deeper self-understanding. This balanced dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious dismantles the invisible chains tethering us to outdated beliefs. Engaging consistently in these practices reveals patterns contributing to the ongoing transformation of our inner landscapes. The willingness to change, to step beyond the known into the unknown, reverberates as a call to courage. This transformative journey seldom rests within comfort, but requires us to redefine our narratives away from familiarity. Guided by courage, we venture not to erase but to reshape our stories, enriching our worldviews and deepening our lives. With each brave step into the unknown, the once constraining chains dissolve into a pathway of inner freedom, allowing us to embrace life with greater authenticity and personal sovereignty. In the gentle dance of becoming, we find the rhythm that resonates with the core of our being. This journey of returning to oneself is not rooted in rebellion, but in a soft unravelling, a peeling away of inherited beliefs and unmet expectations that were never meant to define us. As one walks this path, the echoes of past influences become quieter, mere whispers reminding us of lessons learned, not chains that bind. To tread this path with self-awareness and compassion is to affirm the right to evolve. Moving beyond roles that were cast upon us, roles unconsciously worn as armour. This gentle unravelling parallels the slow erosion of mountains by the elements, where introspection gives way to transformation. These moments of clarity that illuminate our path are like fireflies in the dark, brief but profound. They serve as profound insights, awakening us to the quiet authority residing within, reminding us that true freedom is an ongoing dialogue with the self. It's a trust, nurtured and restored over time, allowing the journey to be guided not by timelines, but by the landscape of our inner world. True freedom is anchored in self-trust, an unwavering presence that whispers courage to face life's complexities. This trust, cultivated through self-reflection and lived experiences, becomes a delicate fabric, woven thread by thread as we listen to our inner voice and honour its wisdom. Such trust fosters a rich soil for our true selves, unencumbered by the need for external validation or judgment. To trust oneself is to stand firmly in truth, even when the winds of external opinion pull towards conformity. This quiet authority transforms our engagement with the world, untethering us from conditioned responses and affirming our rightful place in our own narrative. As we venture deeper, we realise our lives have been scripts authored by generational narratives. These scripts, unspoken yet binding, dictate reactions and choices, shaping identities that may no longer serve our highest good. To shed these scripts is a gentle act of rebellion, a conscious decision to write new narratives resonating with our inner truth. Yet this transformation is neither quick nor straightforward. It demands diligence, a commitment to self-exploration and individuation. As we peel away layers of old beliefs, we discern the authentic voice from the conditioned one, moving towards existential freedom. It is here, in the willing embrace of vulnerability, that strength is found. To walk free is to view vulnerability not as weakness, but as a source of authenticity. It opens the door to deeper connections, allowing us to feel deeply in a world that often glorifies stoicism and control. This choice is a courageous act, allowing for an exploration of the fullest emotional spectrum without fear of judgment. Vulnerability invites honesty, fostering genuine relationships where our true selves, free of conditioning, can thrive. Cultivating mindful awareness serves as our compass, drawing us away from automatic patterns and into a space of non-judgmental observation. This practice invites us to pause, reflect, and respond with intention rather than reacting from conditioned scripts. Through mindfulness, we embrace each moment as an opportunity for insight, observing thoughts without attachment, and allowing habitual patterns to dissolve. Mindfulness embodies an empowered self, navigating life's path with clarity and intent, resilient amidst tides of external influence. Amidst these unfolding layers, forgiveness emerges as a liberating force, releasing both ourselves and others from the burden of resentment. The art of forgiveness is a compassionate courage that dismantles past grievances. It asks not for the exoneration of past actions, but for releasing their hold on our present reality. By letting go, we dissolve pain's grip, creating space for growth, transformation, and authentic connection. In chasing freedom, stillness becomes our sanctuary, nurturing inner clarity. This intentional pause, a refuge from external noise, amplifies our deepest truths. In quiet moments, clarity emerges, aligning our motivations and desires. Practices such as meditation nurture this stillness, deepening our listening and enabling actions guided by clarity and intentionality. As the haze of confusion lifts, inspired action becomes possible, a testament to the wisdom we carry within. This transformative journey births self-authorship, moving from passive acceptance to active creation of life, aligned with values and vision. Acknowledging where power was relinquished, we reclaim it to design our destiny, integrating fragments into a harmonious whole. Living authentically, we create narratives that reflect our essence, affirming freedom born from genuineness and purpose. Subconscious dialogue becomes a tool for unveiling those hidden scripts that silently guide us. By engaging with these layers, we foster understanding and transformation, bringing outdated beliefs to light. Journaling, dream analysis, and therapy open channels to engage in this profound dialogue, unweaving the threads of conditioning. This exploration expands our awareness, inviting alignment and coherence with our conscious desires. And as we journey, a quiet authority unfolds, gentle yet firm, a command over one's life arising from authenticity and emancipation. It's an authority free from external control, nurtured through self-knowledge and acceptance. This quiet power finds roots in integrity, guiding actions with presence and intention. Here lies true power, not loud but transformative, held within the gentle presence of a person walking in integrity and grace. As you breathe this new essence, consider liking and subscribing to continue exploring the myriad paths of self-discovery and healing.